Responsible gambling resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
What you're about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hello, you sick, twisted freak. Welcome to Wednesday. There's some updates on the secret document scandal. And also, more is coming out about Hunter Biden that is extraordinarily disturbing. How much is America going to take before it stands up and says, this has to be addressed? How much more? We begin in 60 seconds. Hey, I've got good news for you. First of all, let me tell you, several of America's largest banks are teaming up to create something that they call a digital wallet. Wow. That takes all of them to get together to create this. This is cutting-edge technology. So this digital wallet will Apple Pay. Really? Why are you guys doing that? Exactly. It's being run by a company. I'm not kidding you. Being run by a company called Early Warning Services. Oh, that doesn't sound shady or spooky in the slightest. Maybe we should probably look into this. The project involves Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, and Bank of America, which all have, something else in common. They've all been fined billions of dollars a year for allegedly ripping off consumers. So nothing to see here, gang. Nothing to see here. Maybe they're testing these newfangled digital wallets. Even though they own the companies that provide the services, they're creating a new one for complete control of everybody's dollars. I'm not sure. Have you considered spreading out your risk and putting some of your money not in dollars? Because the dollar we're now cut off on the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia, nobody's talking about it. Saudi Arabia just said, you know what, petrodollars, we'll take anything. We'll take clams if you want oil. Oh, that's going to be good. That's going to be really good. Please understand, gold, silver, precious metals should be an important part of anything that you have. 10% of anything that you have. Please. Goldline, huge special now on their newest quarter-ounce gold round. It is 99% pure. It's the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower. Oh, this will make you popular with the cool kids. 400th anniversary of the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. It's happening this week. Every tube of 25 acquired, you're going to receive a 5-pack of Goldline's exclusive 2-ounce silver Maple Flex bars. No additional cost. $400 in value of free medals just for being a listener of this program. Call 866-GOLDLINE, 866-GOLDLINE, or goldline.com. All right. Jason Batrill, who has a update for us. Jason, give me the update on what is happening now with Joe Biden and the FBI.
Hello, Glenn. Well, I'm sure everyone's seeing this all over Twitter, and there's like aerial cams from helicopters going over President Biden's house right now, and they're live streaming the FBI raiding his house, looking for these classified documents. Did everyone see that? No. They're not treating it the same way that they did. And this is amazing. They've been in their house. Sources told CNBC, I think, were the first to report this. It was a very small story. I didn't hardly see anyone reporting on it. But they've been there. The FBI just recently took a look at his D.C. think tank office. That took them around 12 hours. So I'm assuming they're going to be there probably all day. this is really unprecedented. Stu mentioned this earlier, with bringing this up, the precedent that it opens up here. And the reason why is because you're looking at a weaponized Department of Justice and FBI. And I think when you look at this on a timeline, I think this what this is covering up is one of the election interferences in American history. Can I explain that, Glenn?
Yes. Can you?
I can. So when we first heard about this, when the timeline started materializing, the Biden's lawyers found classified docs at the D.C. think tank office on November 2nd. Why did we not hear anything then? Because that was in the raid in Mar-a-Lago. Why didn't we hear about this update? Well, just 6 days later were the midterms. They couldn't let it go because what we all know is that the raid at Mar-a-Lago was just a big political stunt. That's all it was. They were losing hardcore in the polls. They knew that they were about to take a big defeat in the midterms. They needed a whammy. And that whammy was the raid on Donald Trump's house. That's what it was. We all knew what it was. Now we're seeing it materialize. That's exactly what was going on. Well, 1 day later, the DOJ, on November 9th, the DOJ and the FBI decided, you know what? Documents found in his home, I think maybe it could have been a violation of federal law. We're going to look into it. Oh, really? A day after the midterms? Now you're going to decide? But because of the slow drip process, we didn't even hear about that. We only just now heard about that just a few weeks ago. And now, since the FBI is now moving on some of these places, we're starting to see that the FBI is completely boxed in. They've been caught. They were outed in this scheme to tank Republicans, to tank Donald Trump. And now they're like, okay, well, crud. We have to move. We have to do a raid. We have to get involved and show that, hey, at least we're taking this seriously. Will they eventually in the end? Highly doubt it, because this has been a sham since the beginning.
All right, so here's a couple of questions. First, you didn't touch on what CBS News has just reported, that the FBI conducted another undisclosed search of the Penn Biden Center back in November. I think that I mentioned that in passing here. They knew that that these were in existence. They knew this was a problem, but they go and they raid it, and the White House hasn't ever talked about it. The White House is telling America that they're very, very they're cooperating 100%. Who is shutting down the information? Who is there a single journalist that would like to win? Well, you're not going to win a Pulitzer because you have to lie to win one of those. Is there anybody that cares enough about the truth, no matter where it falls, that they're going to tell the truth?
No, I mean, we just found out about that raid that you just mentioned this week. We found out about it this week. It happened way back then. I mean, it was like almost kind of like a drip process when they went to move on Trump. Remember how investigative these journalists were being? They were in toilet bowls. That's like they were, exclusive. We found these torn up notes. Look how careless he is. Then we start finding out about these classified docs at Mar-a-Lago. That's the lengths they were willing to go. All of this stuff, like you have lawyers involved within the Biden administration. You have the DOJ involved, the FBI, going back months, and not a single journalist knew a thing about it.
So, of course, that's not true. So, Jay, tell me, what do you think is happening? Why would the FBI be raiding his house yet again? Why would they be doing this today?
Well, I seriously think that, I mean, this should point toward, because we know that it was a two-pronged reason for raiding Mar-a-Lago. One, it was a heck of a prize for the midterm election. That's one. I think that was one of the biggest things. The second, they did not want him to run for president again in the next election. That was a big thing. Now, I don't think that anyone on the left wants Joe Biden to run again in 2024. I do not think they want him. He's vulnerable now, but so is Trump. I think right now they're kind of like, well, yes, we open them both up to prosecution. They'll both be vulnerable. But do we care? No, I don't think they care. I think that now they're kind of like electable. I don't think they have too many people that are electable. But I think that they see the vulnerability of Joe Biden. That's a bonus for them. And they're going to continue with the vulnerability of Donald Trump. They're going to make an example.
This is Banana Republic. This is Banana Republic stuff.
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't go in and raid a sitting president's home. You don't do it. We've never, ever done anything like this. We've never did it with Donald Trump. Now they're going and raiding a sitting president's home. That's fine if we had a Justice Department that we trusted, but we don't. We know they're not after real justice. So that leads you to what is it that they're after? This becomes extraordinarily dangerous for a republic. If your Justice Department is corrupt and the deep state is in charge, and they can just take any president and go into their house and raid it and charge him on things that Hillary Clinton didn't go to jail for. Nobody went. I can't believe I'm actually kind of defending Joe Biden here because I'm defending the process. You should have done this from the beginning. Now they're using this as a political tool, I fear, because the biggest tool is Hunter Biden. And the things that are coming out about Hunter Biden are really, really damaging. It looks weak. What was it yesterday, Jason? We had the story about Hunter setting up the biotech labs, the bioweapons labs in Ukraine. He was the guy who helped start that and helped fund that. What's that all about?
I mean, I think the further we start seeing that, the Ukraine stuff, the business dealings with Hunter Biden, the rest of his family, and why they were so hyper-focused on Ukraine and why now they are so hyper-focused on making sure that, everything is secure there. They got to make sure that, all of those skeletons are completely buried. I don't even think that we probably haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, we've covered bereavement in detail. Now we're getting hints of this. Those are the things we know. What do we know that they had their fingers in? I mean, this is getting absolutely insane.
The thing that bothers me so much is the amount of money that has gone over there. Because gone to the front lines. We've had people on the front lines who have verified this. We're not seeing an influx of things. Where are all those things going? You're seeing 10 politicians had to step down because they were taking the aid and funneling it towards their families, et cetera, et cetera. 10 politicians. We're not monitoring anything. And I think this is a huge payoff. Did you see that it was, $2.5 billion they say was given out during the PPP program that shouldn't have been given out, all went to corruption? $2.5 billion. Do you know politically what could be done with $1 billion? $10 billion? If this money is being funneled nefarious places, which is the only way dirty money ever goes, it's not like it goes to the church. This money is being funneled somewhere. Where? Who is using that money for what kind of a global campaign? Where's that money's influence being felt? We need to know this. Jason, is it your belief at this point that the government is going to move on Joe Biden more than this?
Well, I kind of do, because I don't really see an out for the DOJ and FBI. I really don't. I mean, they've already grenade they dropped with Trump, and now all the revelations that are coming out about Biden, don't see how they can. I mean, they're going to try and minimize and make it seem more benign what Biden did. I saw that in some of the early reporting on the raid or the FBI search today, they were trying to say that Joe Biden is in full cooperation with the FBI. His home today. There's no difference between that and what Donald Trump did. He was in cooperation with the FBI. He allowed them access. They went and looked. They searched through file folders, looked at everything, and said, "Hey, Mr. President, you should probably put a padlock on that door." Okay, so he did it. what is the difference? Really, what is the difference? There is no difference, but you can already see them. You know, they're calling their shot right now that they're going to try and make this look more benign. They'll probably end up saying that, okay, we find no we find criminality with Donald Trump, but in the end, they're both vulnerable. With the ultimate.
So, do you think that there's a? Do you think there's a chance that this is, because this is what I'm hearing from people, the left is done with the Bidens, and so now this is all coming from the deep state, and they're just going to destroy him and his family?
Yeah, and Glenn, just a real quick point on just how deep this deep state is right now and how much they are outing themselves. I mean, just look at the DOJ and the FBI. Look at what they did to the pro-life activists. You know, the Hook was just exonerated. But can you believe that the DOJ actually, they knew they did not have a case, Glenn. They knew they did not have a case. They knew how he wasn't even blocking that entrance. This other activist went towards Hook, basically ran him down the street. And then he had, as per in the court, the Planned Parenthood CEO admitted that this guy had those issues before. He had been confronting people out on the street, which they're told not to do before. So the DOJ knew they didn't have a case. But what did they do? They still went because it was retaliation. Their flagship banner issue, Roe v. Wade, had gotten overturned. So they wanted to deliver a gut punch. Had nothing to do with justice, but they are weaponized. I mean, this on top of what's going on with Biden and Trump right now, there's the deep state right there. They are fully weaponized, and they're coming after you.
Yeah, and that's what disturbs me. Yesterday, we had a guy who filed a lawsuit here in Texas against the ATF on what do you call them? The stocks, the collapsible stocks, but it's what are they called? The pistols that can turn into stock, and the ATF said that those are absolutely legal. They've been legal for years, blah, blah, blah. Now, through a stroke of a pen, not Congress or anything else, they decide that that's a felony to own one of those. In case you missed yesterday's podcast, we talked to the guy who was filing suit because yesterday was the day that it actually became in the federal registry, which means it's now officially on the books. So the clock started running yesterday. You have 120. They may not get away with this, but what they're doing when you say weaponizing, there's two things that people have to understand. How a national socialist kind of takeover usually happens is they make so many things through regulation illegal that almost everybody's in violation of something. And then they apply pressure selectively to who they want to apply pressure. So if you have one of those guns and you haven't filed in 120 days because you're waiting for the court to speak on it, what's going to happen to you? They will arrest you, even if they know nothing's going to happen. They want to make people's lives miserable through the system. That way, they can control you, even if it doesn't end up that you have to be held in jail. The whole process is the real punishment. Back on just a second, because we have some information about Hunter Biden as well that is just, gosh, I don't know how people are navigating today's news and feeling good about it. All right, let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's Tuttle Twins. Sorry, it's Preborn. This is great. Preborn is a sponsor of ours, and they came into my office a year and a half ago, and a ministry to save babies. And so it's all the money that they raised. I mean, it was like tithing money. It was God's money. Yeah, I think I can. I think the audience will really appreciate it. I know I'm married into it. I've given. And their goal was to save children. And with what Christ says to us about children and millstones, I can't imagine anything that would bring down